Shane Boz is back in the big leagues. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more coming up on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. We are brought to you by Draftkings PickSix. Use promo code RWPicks for $50 in PickSix credits with a $5 deposit. I'm Clay Link of RotoWire.com here with FSWA Hall of Famer Todd Zola. I hope everybody had a great fourth and, ready to get back after it. As I mentioned, the famed Wizard of Boz, Shane Boz, back in the bigs, Todd, after the Rays traded Aaron Civale to the Brewers. So they're both going to be starting tonight. Boz officially recalled. And, it's been a while after his, injury, but definitely showed a high upside before Shane Boz.
Your first 10 fingers, got them all. Didn't do fireworks last night. Let's have a finger check out there. I'm sure our YouTube viewers will be on. And tell me, people that are listening, if you hear my fan in the background, let me know. I will turn it off, but then you'll be hearing my sweat drip. Wizard of Boz, I like that.
Yeah, that's his own nickname.
I wrote him up for ESPN, and I said the Boz is back in town. That was my lead. So I like Wizard of Boz. I think that I wish I had thought of that. Would have made a bunch of behind the door references in the piece. Oh well, maybe next year.
I believe that's his Twitter handle, by the way.
Okay, well, there we go. Not so optimistic for tonight with the Rangers, just because I don't know how many innings Boz is going to go, and the Rangers don't strike out. So I know they're not hitting the ball hard when they do hit it, but they don't strike out. So 5 innings, 4 strikeouts doesn't bode well, especially if you have a starts cap or an innings cap, something like that in a daily or in a daily or even weekly head-to-head league or DFS even. But I mean, you got to pick them up or be optimistic for the rest of the season, right? I would think. I mean, velocity's back, missing bats toward the end. It wasn't rehab, right? It was back to being in AAA at the end.
Yeah,
rehab ran out.
It was kind of an extended rehab of sorts, but yeah, he was officially activated on May 23rd and then optioned down. So it was not officially, a rehab assignment, but yeah, he's been rehabbing for seems like several years now.
Doesn't it though?
I guess it was. Well, he missed all of last year with Tommy.
Yep.
John. So, but yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do. And on the other side of the coin there for Milwaukee, for me, it's hard to feel great about Civale tonight, but maybe they can get him in that pitching lab, tweak a few things, and get him on the right track because he has, at least with the peripherals, pitched better than the surface stats indicate.
Right. He's coming from a pitching lab, going to another. Maybe the Rays being a little bit out of it, he does get a bit of a boost. But yeah, I mean, Civale, I don't like the park. Don't like the park switch.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Civale is sort of. We were trying to think of teams that might be interested in Aaron Civale. To me, it was teams that needed to fortify the back end of the rotation. I think the Brewers still would like. I don't know how they get him, but they'd still like another ace for the playoff run, going up against the Dodgers and the Phillies, going up against those rotations. Even the Braves, you got to figure down the stretch you're going to fortify. You got Freddie Peralta, okay, but who do you got next, right? So I think that this was a nice piece, but maybe Milwaukee just happy to be where they are, and you get Woodruff back next year, and you don't want to sacrifice too much of the future. But we'll see. We'll see. The problem, I think, isn't it going to be a seller's market where there are only a few really good starting pitchers available, but a lot of teams looking for them? I don't know that Milwaukee can hang in that scenario.
Yeah, they may have to largely do with what they got. They will be, likely getting Devin Williams back on the relief side, but
yep.
They behind Peralta and Civale, Colin Ray, Tobias Myers, and Dallas Keuchel, who they got for $1, $1, and
probably overpaid. DL Hall's coming
Wilson.
back.
Yeah, Bryce Wilson moved to the bullpen, and DL Hall potentially.
Yeah, the role for Hall is still up in the air. Some of which may be dictated by Civale and how some of these other starters fare. There were already Milwaukee using Bryce Wilson in a bulk reliever role. He was starting earlier in the year. So maybe that's a road that Milwaukee will go down, especially once Williams is back to lengthen their bullpen a bit.
Well, let's talk a little bit about some pickups. I don't know if this guy is widely available, but he was dropped in this league after his injury, and he may be available in your league too. Mr. Xander Bogaerts, really struggled before the injury. I think he's, sub 600 OPS, but only $4 out of 100. I'm down to my final 12, but I'm kind of kicking myself that I wasn't aggressive here on Bogaerts because, as bad as he was before, I do expect, the baseline still think is a lot higher. And hopefully he can, with better health, and maybe getting some of his timing back, rehab, which, by the way, is already underway, began last night at AAA. Hopefully he's more like Xander Bogaerts this time around.
Right. And I think it's absolutely worth, we talk about it all the time. Just don't check the pickups, check the drops, and just be aware. We can't say Bogaerts is available in every league, but there are some scenarios where he needed to be dropped. Not just Bogaerts, but other players of his ilk. In general, I agree, though. I agree that water will find its level. It would have found its level with Xander earlier, and he's absolutely someone to go out there and pick up.
Yeah, it was weird. His time in San Diego has been weird in general. Last year he drove in 58 runs despite batting .285 over 665 plate appearances to drive in 58 runs only. Pretty wild for a guy like that. And the kind of flukiness is kind of carried over into this year. Had to change positions, so it's kind of been weird couple season and a half there for Bogaerts in San Diego. But he will play every day once he's back, and I do expect quite a bit better. Ben Rice, also a $4 ad. How about those Cincinnati Reds sweeping the Yankees in the Bronx? But Ben Rice did provide a bright spot yesterday on the fourth of his first career home run. So, I know a lot of Yankees fans. It seems like I follow a lot of Yankees fans on Twitter. I don't know if it's disproportionate or what, but a lot of fans want Ben Rice to stick around even when Rizzo's back. And, Rizzo, he's on the 60 days. So.
I think it's an if at this point with Rizzo.
That might not be back. Shut down for up to Rizzo's a ways off. So either way, it looks like Rice will have a nice stretch here. Are you considering him, or is he kind of getting that big market tax under the?
I'm a little surprised. Even in a one catcher league, there were 18 teams in this league. I'm a little surprised that Rice was even still available. It took that first home run, I guess, to finally get someone to jump. Or maybe, I don't know. I mean, everybody's involved in this league because as far as that goes. So I don't think it has anything to do with that. No, by that answer, I'm a little surprised.
There are some other good catchers available, but the fact that it is one catcher, 2 UTs, a lot of these catchers do kind of linger for a while.
I guess the question is Rice going to get catcher eligibility next year? And at this rate, I don't think he will. But if Rizzo were to come back, maybe. But I don't see that. I'm looking up right now if he's got any games behind the plate this year. You know what? Let me take that. No, one. He's only got one. Yeah, it's going to take a bunch. I don't know that even if Rizzo comes back, I don't know if he's going to get 19 games behind the plate. So I like it a lot this year, but I need to see a lot more before I like him as a non-catcher.
And Michael Mercado, I saw, is the top pickup across all CBS leagues. He was a $3 ad here. He got his first big league win on a Tuesday against the Cubs. Cubs are in a bad spot, by the way.
Yeah.
And it seems like old Craig Counsell is kind of, the fans in Chicago are already kind of turning on him. Tough business, but he's getting the money to, I'm sure make it worth his while. But Mercado getting another turn in the rotation on Sunday against Atlanta. I have not gotten eyes on Michael Mercado, so I don't really feel strongly either way. But
I know nothing.
A guy who at least, fared well in his last start and is going to be getting another. So at least a guy that you can deploy if you need to start either in points leagues or if you just want to roll the dice.
No, I agree. As far as that goes, I mean, sometimes it's just we don't know if Mercado is good or bad. We know that these other guys are pretty bad. So why not go for it and go on a matchup by matchup basis? Mercado's not the kind of guy that I'm going to jump after. But at this point, beggars can't be choosers.
By the way, we had a question in the chat. Christian Scott, long gone in this league, but we did get word that he's sticking in the rotation for the time being. A guy in the chat asks if you'd rather have Christian Scott or Dean Kramer. For me, it's Scott with the upside, but maybe I'm discounting Kramer, what he's doing.
No, I think that's what it comes down to is what you're looking for. I think if you're just looking for some stability back in your rotation, just know what you're going to get. It's Kramer. If at this point of the season you need some upside, it's absolutely Christian Scott. I think they're both of equal risk as far as health. I mean, Kramer's coming back from an injury. Scott's not hurt, but he'll have his innings tempered. So I think if you're looking for upside, it's probably Scott. And I think at this point of the season, more people are looking for upside than they are, I just need something to, settle my back end of the rotation down a bit.
Yeah, I think you're right. Although I will say that maybe Dean Kramer has a bit more upside than I realized at first, because he had 8 Ks over 5 scoreless his last time out. And I'm surprised to see that he actually has 2 double-digit strikeout games this season.
Isn't that kind of part and parcel to all Ori? I mean, 2 years ago you could have said the same thing about Kyle Bradish, right? I mean, these guys that Baltimore seems to quietly doing a pretty good, maybe not so quiet anymore, doing a decent job developing some of these, middling pitchers to something better than that. So, I would more often than not, it's going to be Scott, unless you're just saying, I need the innings. I can't risk not getting innings. And even then, who's to say with Kramer just coming back from an injury?
Joey Estes, that's a good pickup for 2. And then Hayden Birdsong for 2. He's another guy who got his first career win this week. He did give up 2 runs over 5 against Atlanta, but 5 Ks and
he's got
allowing a lot of traffic. Yeah, he's got some pedigree, but allowing a lot of traffic on the bases right now. Kind of tough for me to trust, but a highly ranked prospect within the organization, Birdsong.
Like the park. So I do like that context. And I mean, San Francisco is using bullpens twice a week, it seems. Mm-hmm. So I think there's going to be an opportunity for Birdsong to get some innings. We're not talking about his innings as like we are Scott and Jared Jones is on the IL and Paul Scanes. But I think being so young in a rookie, Birdsong's innings may have to be tempered. But I don't have to look into that. But I see no reason not to pick him up now.
Yeah, and then our buddy Uncle Ted in the chat was wondering if we're buying DJ Hertz and his 10 Ks. And he had that 13K game not too long ago, Hertz. Then he kind of fell off, but then he bounced back. So I do expect more of that inconsistency, some ups and downs. But yeah, if you're looking to pick up a guy on the cheap and he's still lingering out there, I'd take a shot on Hertz.
I think the impressive aspect with Hertz was it was against the Mets, who were over their head on the road, but still they've been playing really, really well on the road. I don't care who you're playing, 10 strikeouts and no walks has to catch your eye, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, it just has to.
And Josiah Gray got some bad news in that rotation, getting pushed back, so more of a window for Hertz to start. Carson Spires on those red hot Reds. They're not really red hot, but they Jonathan India is red hot.
Yes,
but sweeping the Yankees in the Bronx is a high point of the season so far. Spires, though, I do like. I was checking to see what his upcoming matchups look like. He's tonight against Detroit, which is pretty favorable. Then home against Colorado next week, and we'll see what happens after the All-Star break. But yeah, short term, Spires looks pretty nice. Then Josh Winkowski, a guy who over the years has been between the rotation and the bullpen on your Boston Red Sox. Todd, do you have any strong feelings about Josh Winkowski?
The Andrew Bailey is doing wonders with the staff. Now they've had a blip over the past 6 weeks, so I'm curious. I don't love him for tonight or tomorrow's game against the Yankees. I think he's more of a DFS prop type guy than someone I'm trusting. But Winkowski is going to get a short-term look. He's been tough to judging just because anytime you bounce from the rotation to back to relief, you just don't know how much you can trust the numbers. Just the way you pitch in relief, you're going to have to pitch differently. So you just can't translate the numbers from relieving. And there's a reason why he was called up, because he wasn't pitching well enough to stay with the team early in the season. But I don't like him tonight, but I do like Winkowski as a feeling, just because Andrew Bailey has kind of earned the respect of the starting pitchers.
And some others to consider if available in your league: John Kenzie Noel. I said Noel last week. It is Noel. Big Christmas, I believe, is his nickname. So that makes it easy to remember. James Wood, of course, big time prospect. Showing good stuff too, not striking out a lot, and facing a lot of lefties and holding his own. Yep. Brooks Lee, not a guy I know a ton about, but playing some third base now for Minnesota. Brooks Lee, and James has him as the number 3 prospect in that organization, so maybe give a look to Brooks Lee. Colin Ray, and then Parker Meadows back in the big leagues, Todd, for Detroit.
Yeah, he kind of earned. I mean, it was just so terrible, and there was some hype. We're not talking about in the same vein as Corbin Carroll and Evan Carter, but there was some optimism with Parker Meadows heading into the season, and it just hasn't come to fruition. Earned it 905 OPS as a 24-year-old in AAA. That's fine. 19 steals,
8 homers, and 19 steals.
So definitely earned the promotion. The thing with Lee, and I should have listened to James and Eric on the radio today, because I'm sure they talked about him, but is he definitely going to be playing third? I mean, he also plays shortstop, and I guess you got Carlos Correa, so I guess he's definitely playing third. But it's just, to me, Jose Miranda's just been playing so well that I wonder what the Twins are going to do to keep everybody in the lineup.
I think Miranda's been playing a DH a fair amount, and so
it
opens up things for Lee. But Lee just got called up, I think, the other day, so we'll kind of have to wait and see how the lineups shake out.
Yeah, no, you're right. And Carlos Santana has earned himself a spot in the lineup, but he could just as easily unearn it, if you will. True. So I guess,
that guy can go cold, ice cold for a stretch.
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is I like Jose Miranda, and I'm just kind of casting him to stay in the lineup.
Absolutely. Well, we will get into the 2-star pitchers for next week here momentarily, but let's pause briefly as I bring you a word about DraftKings PickSix. Did you ever play the over-under game with your friends? Think I can eat that slice of pizza in under 30 seconds, or I know it'll take you over a minute to down that 2-liter. If you have, then you're going to love PickSix, the new fantasy game from DraftKings. Here's how to play during baseball season. Pick between 2 and 6 players and choose if they'll have more or less of a stat, like runs, hits, strikeouts, and more. Track your picks and play against others for a shot at huge cash prizes. That's all there is to it. Download the new DraftKings PickSix app and use code RWPicks. New customers play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits. That's code RWPicks for new customers to play $5 and get 50 in PickSix credits only on DraftKings PickSix. The crown is yours. 1 per new customer. Non-withdrawable PickSix credits expire in 6 months. Limited time offer. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 18 plus in most eligible states. Not available in all states, including New York and Connecticut. Eligibility restrictions apply. Void where prohibited. See terms at pick6.draftkings.com/promos. We appreciate their sponsorship of the show. And I think we're ready to get into the 2-star pitchers for next week, unless you have anything else you want to mention before we do, Todd.
I think I inadvertently turned my camera off. I know everybody wants to see what I look like, so I apologize to all you thirsty people out there that need to see me. But I guess it's now back on. No, let's go for it. Pre-warning, I have not even looked at the 2-star pitching yet. So this is a totally off-the-cuff one for me.
Well, this is the final week before the All-Star break, believe it or not. So it's and next week we're gonna have do something a little different. We won't have 2-star pitchers to grade. I'm sure we'll have plenty to talk about. And usually we take some time to look at the top first half earners, and that was something you were doing yourself over at Masters Ball, wasn't it?
And a little site called RotoWire. I put up the Z files this week.
Oh, cool.
I took a look. I kind of took that work and wrote it up a bit for RotoWire. I looked at the first half and then my second half projections and noted who stays and who goes and did a little discussion about it. So,
cool.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just we're joking about it. People love lists. People, they love lists.
And
I
like to see that number too. Like, what have they earned?
It's easy content, but people love it. So what the heck? Why not? Too, yeah. It serves to it's easy to do, and people really enjoy reading it. So how many? Yeah. It sounds dumb, but
it's a good jumping off point for conversation. So
how many? When we were younger, we wanted to hear if our song made the top 5. Didn't mean it was better, right? But we all wanted to know if Casey Kasem. Well, I'm old enough for Casey Kasem, but if Casey Kasem was going to talk about my favorite song, anyway.
I love seeing it's so crazy to see some of the names that pop up after draft season that these guys who are in that top 20 who you wouldn't have thought, but they could easily fall out of that. But it's pretty cool to see how valuable certain guys have been.
Go 3 months. Than Seth Lugo was the number 1 fantasy pitcher over the first half.
Seth Lugo.
I just checked our roundtable. None of us had him there. Anyway.
Yeah, I have him ranked now, but I don't think I had him in my 300 coming into the season. All right, well, let's get into the 2-star pitchers for next week. The week of July 8th, you can, of course, follow along with us at rotowire.com. You go to the probable pitchers grid, go to customize grid, that big blue button there. Custom start date July 8th, show starters. And Tommy Henry pops up. So this is another week where we got a pretty easy one to start. Tommy Henry going to be an easy 0 to kick things off.
Yeah, no doubt.
All right. Well, next up is a more difficult one for Arizona. Zach Gallen. I say it's difficult because he's still coming back from injury, sort of. He's I say that because he only went 4 innings, but notable certainly that his velocity seemed to be back in his return. So he only went 4 innings last time out, but it's good to see that he's back, at least with the velocity. Maybe the control needs some work, but love seeing Gallen back, at least throwing hard. So he's going to be versus Atlanta, versus Toronto. I still think Gallen's probably a 4.
Yeah, I was all this time thinking 4 or 5. If it wasn't for the Atlanta start, I'm going to go 4 as well. I think Gallen will get back in the 5 range, perhaps after the break.
Yeah, I'm with you there. All right. Well, Chris Sale has been unreal. He's an all-star again this year, isn't he? I mean, I assume so. He's got 11 wins.
He could start the game.
Yeah. I think is he an 8-time all-star? Did I see that? Let me double check his.
I thought I heard 5, but it doesn't matter. It's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, 5 sounds. 7.
So he will be an A. Okay. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yep.
What a career he's had. And yeah, what a pickup for Atlanta. Plus Kelnick, that organization. I know they get some flack for they're getting these lucky contracts and players are signing for less than they should, but they've done a great job.
Well,
wheeling and dealing.
They had to give up Vaughn Grissom to get Sale. Don't forget that.
Oh, yeah,
where would they be if they had Vaughn Grissom?
Good God, that was a fleecing in retrospect. But
Sale, we're not done yet. We'll see.
That's true. That's true. Sale and Charlie Morton. So Charles Entertainment, Morton, and Chris Sale at Arizona, at San Diego. So 2 road starts.
Decent parks.
I'm tempted to say 5 on. I'm going to say 5 on Sale and 4 on Morton.
Yeah, I'm there as well. That's where I was.
Yeah, definitely guys you want to deploy. And then Dean Kramer, who we kind of talked about earlier with an either or with Christian Scott, pitching pretty well and showing some upside. He's versus Chicago, then versus New York Yankees. I'm I like him. I'm going to
They're
turn
both
this
at
one
home.
over. I'm going to turn this one over to you to start.
Yeah, they're both at home, which is an advantage.
Yeah.
Um,
Versus the Cubs versus New York. New York, I mean, I kind of joke about it with the Yankees, but they are, or with the Reds, but they their struggles go back further than that series. They're in a bad way.
do. I'm going to go 3 with Kramer, which is it purposely in the middle? I think so, but I'm going to go 3 with Kramer.
Yeah, I think so too. All right, next up we have Brian Bayo versus Oakland versus KC. A pretty good two-step on paper here. He's been a disappointment though. I thought Bayo after last season showed good progress, and he signed that extension. He did have 7 Ks his last time out, only 1 earned run allowed. So, but then the time before that, 7 earned runs. So he's been all over the map recently. I'm still a believer, but it has not been pretty this year. Let me double check these matchups versus Oakland versus KC. I'm gonna probably go 3, although he hasn't pitched like a 3.
Yeah, KC's been a bit of a tailspin, so we keep saying, well, they're really good. Well, they've been in a bit of a tailspin. The thing with Bayo, and this is one of those things where sometimes we think we're too attached to our home teams, but sometimes if we're objective about it, it could actually add to the analysis. In that Bayo has been getting the old tough love from Alex Cora, the kind that Eduardo Rodriguez got a couple of years ago, where he wants him to get out of his jam. He's not going to the bullpen immediately, and that's hurt Bayo in a couple of instances. And it almost hurt him in the last start, what you're talking about. He didn't get that last out, and the bullpen did save him. So, I mean, Cora wanted him to get out of his own mess, but he just got to the point where he couldn't trust him anymore. I'm still optimistic that Bayo will settle into, I don't know, middle of the even if he's middle of the rotation, that's fine. Mm-hmm. And I think he will settle in there. And I do agree with the 3. The matchups, he could pitch better than that this week. These matchups are that good.
Yeah, I'm expecting better things out of Bayo moving forward. So I will see what he brings. Jameson Taillon, he's kind of a guy who's kind of pitched like a 4, but I lean more towards 3 with these matchups at Baltimore, at St. Louis. At St. Louis is nice, but man, Baltimore is tough. I mean, I don't know. I'm leaning 3 here on Taillon.
I'm leaning 3 just because I don't know that Taillon has the strikeout upside to say, well, at least he got some strikeouts. He does occasionally, fan 8 or 9, but I'm with you on a 3. Just to me, he kind of defines middle.
Definitely, yeah. He's kind of that. It's kind of that Taillon line now in 2024.
Yeah.
Andrew Abbott of the Reds. We had a comment in the chat from our buddy PJ saying, pretty sure Andrew Abbott's the top 2-star pitcher this week and possibly of the season with these matchups. That may be the case. Home against Colorado, then home against Miami. Matchups really don't get much better than that, although Great American Small Park is pretty absurd with its dimensions. But
just a second. Chris Sale's on the line. He wants to talk about the number 1 2-starter this week.
Yeah, I think rankings in the rankings wise, Sale would probably pop up higher. But.
I mean, Abbott. I mean, if you were to say 5, I wouldn't argue. I'm going to go 4, but these are great matchups.
Yeah, I'm going to go 4 too, 4 as well. But I can't see a situation where I'd probably sit him down.
No.
And then next Tuesday might be Lodolo Day. We haven't really got much word on if he'll come back after the minimum, but it was a blister, so we're tentatively projecting Lodolo back. Might need a rehab start though, so nothing for sure. If he does start, I think that's probably a 4 as well with his talent.
I do. If it, the blister, you always get worried that it gets you again. So if that means, to be fair, give him a 3. I will give him a 3 for that reason. But I gotta love these matchups.
Give him a 3.
Yeah.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that's with the status up in the air. I could see that totally. And then we have Gavin Williams for Cleveland, who made his season debut and struggled. 5 runs on 7 hits against the White Sox of all teams, and it was at home. Only 2 strikeouts. On his rehab, he built up to about 5 innings, but that was his max. So, even though he only threw 74 pitches in his debut. Not major workload restrictions, I wouldn't think, if things go a little bit better for him. Tough guy to pin down, though, right now, as far as expectations. At Detroit, at Tampa Bay, I think I'm going to go with 2. That's what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, I'm going with a 2 as well, but I'm like, if I have him on a draft champions, it's like, 2 means I should probably start him, but I don't know what I would. I mean, it would depend upon, why does my camera keep going out?
I noticed that, but
it may be the UCB USB connection.
There you are.
The first time I thought I clicked it on it inadvertently, but my mouse isn't anywhere near the camera. So maybe my connection's a little bit wobbly. I will check that. Anyway, not that my visage is not needed for this particular podcast.
Well, what about Ben Lively for that? Really one of the surprise teams of the first half, this Guardians team. And Ben Lively's
because of Lively, right?
Yeah, Ben Lively's been a big part of that. At Detroit, at Tampa Bay again. So I think I'm going to go 3. Like, for me, he kind of falls closer to that Tyone line still, even though he's pitched really well.
I think he should be a 3. I'm just debating 4. No, doesn't he sneaks in some strikeouts? I'm going to go 3, but it's like a 3.49.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And then for the Colorado Rockies, Dakota Hudson's an easy 0. But at least for me, but Cal Quantrill's tougher because these are both on the road for Quantrill next week. And he's actually pitched okay, although he does have to go to Cincinnati. So it's not a great spot there. Then at the Mets. I think I'm only going to go 1.
I'm going to go 1. It's not a categorical 0, but it's not a no-brainer either. I think I'm going to go 1.
And you're with me on Hudson, even though they're both on the road. 0.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay. Well, Chris Flexen, he has an ERA over 5, but home next week against. Sorry.
There is no but. He has an ERA over 5. It's Chris Flexen, and he has an ERA over 5. Okay,
I was going to say he's got 2 home starts, but no, I get what you're saying. 0.
You know what? I mean, Minnesota and Pittsburgh aren't the worst matchup. They're not great, but no, I'm going 0 with Flexen as well. I mean,
okay, I might go 1, but yeah, I got you.
Do it.
Really bold and real. I probably wouldn't start him, but with those matchups, maybe in some desperate league, Jack Flaherty versus Cleveland versus the Dodgers. So
this has to be tentative, right? Because he just got an injection in his back.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
here,
it's
tentative. So he's technically day to day. Got skipped. Will receive a second injection in his back.
Well, the first being a few starts ago.
Yeah,
and it air quote worked. But how did it work? Because he needs another one. It got him through a couple of starts. So, but yeah, I mean, even against it, I mean, Flaherty's a 3 anyway. If he pitches.
Yeah, I believe. Well, these are 2 of the top offenses in baseball through the first half.
He's a 5 pitcher, but I'm docking him because of the matchups. He
may have a visit from the regression monster in the week leading up to the All-Star break.
He's earned it. He's earned it though. Well, all right. The ERA is a little artificially low, but the underlying metrics are fantastic. So it's going to be a cushioned fall.
And I think you have said that regression goes both ways. Do you expect positive regression for Kenta Maeda, or is he just going to stick it with this disastrous pace he's on?
The underlying numbers haven't been fantastic for Maeda, but I think he will have a better second half. He almost has to. But
he's really get much worse than.
Yeah, he's not someone I'm targeting because hey, look at the StatCast numbers. He was ripped off. I'm not going to go there, but I'm not going to just ignore him either on a case by case or start by start basis. I'm going to look at him, and I don't like these. Cleveland and LA, like you said, could be the 2 of the top offenses in the game.
Yeah, so I'm only going to go 1, I think, on Maeda. Where were you at?
I'm not even sure if I'm that high. Yeah, all right. I'm going to go 1, but I'm not. It's not going to be on my team. I'm looking for a better option if I have him.
Well, Ronel Blanco's got a couple home starts next week versus Miami versus Texas. Still the only man who has thrown a no-hitter this season. And really overall has been excellent. So, and really has helped keep that Astros team in the hunt.
They're no longer in the hunt. They are hunting.
Yeah.
They're just a couple games behind Seattle.
Yep. And Seattle can't hit for save their lives. Again, both home next week for Blanco versus Miami versus Texas. I'm almost leaning a 5 here. What say you?
There's still some lady luck involved. I'm going to go 4.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, I'm probably the only one that's not going to go 5. I'm going to go 4.
I mean, it's kind of splitting hairs with a guy like this who you're probably starting, but
you're starting. You're using him until the luck runs out. But he's shown enough underlying skills that, again, soft landing.
2 off days for the Kansas City Royals heading into the All-Star break, so that's got to be nice for them. Getting 2 off days before the All-Star break, it should benefit the Kansas City Royals. And then the Los Angeles Angels, Davis Daniel, who we talked about briefly a couple weeks ago, he's pitched pretty well. Versus Texas versus Seattle next week. Davis Daniel, I know you kind of expressed some concerns when we first brought him up. Has he eased those concerns at all?
A little bit. And I just now you mentioned it hasn't. I don't think it's affected any of our analysis so far. But being the last Sunday before the All-Star break, sometimes we hear pitchers are, not going to make that start.
Yeah, that's a good point,
etc. I don't think that affects anybody that we've talked about.
But if a guy needs a little extra rest or something, they could go bullpen day or just call somebody.
Yeah, up. I mean, when we get to when we get to Philadelphia, we'll talk about it. But yeah, again, though, I don't think it's affected anybody we've talked about so far. I guess, I mean, the matchups for Daniel are such that if you stuck through with them, I think you use them, as you said. Seattle can't hit, and they just struck out again and not even playing. And they're at home with the Rangers, so. I'm going to go 2, but I mean, it's not like he's won me over, but I'm not dismissing him.
He had that good outing in his debut where he struck out 8. And I do like that even though he gave up 2 homers in his subsequent start at Oakland, he really did a pretty good job in the PCL of keeping the ball in the yard. Only 5 homers allowed in 76 innings before getting the call. So, the numbers overall in the PCL were ugly, but you can't really put a ton of stock into those numbers because that environment, that run.
Yeah, he's 27. 27, so you're really never sure how that age to level, how that dictates. So, but these matchups, I think, are 2.
Yeah, I'm glad that I'm encouraged that he was at least able to keep the ball in the yard in the PCL. So, yeah, I'm with you on a 2. And then what about Roansy Contreras? Used to be a prospect of some ilk with Pittsburgh, but I think I'm going to go 0 until Roansy shows something else here.
Something else being a lot of strikes, and I don't know that he's there yet.
He hasn't gone more than 3 innings either.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's a 0 for me, and I'm not sure that starting is his thing. I think you need to find out, but I think with that stuff, he could play as a back end guy.
Well, let's pause real quick. I will pause briefly to splice in some prepaid ads here, but we'll be back on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. All right, we are back on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Clay Link and Todd Zola making our way through the rest of next week's 2-star pitchers, the final week before the All-Star break. I look forward to seeing you and many other RotoWire teammates in Las Vegas during the break. Should be a lot of fun. Bryce Miller for the Dodgers. He got a 6. Miller. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bobby Miller, of course. Won't start, or he was kind of pushed back. He was supposed to start later this weekend, but they're going to push him back a little bit here. So Bobby Miller has struggled. He went 5 innings, before he was pushed back, but really been all over the map in terms of, innings, and he's been hurt. So I like the upside here at Philly, at Detroit. I think I'm only going to go 2 until he gets on track.
Oh, but I just remembered. Bobby Miller's my Stratomatic draft pick this past year. I need him. It was more of a long-term pick, but want to compete next year, and I don't like this. Anyway, going to go 2 as well. The innings are an issue at this point. Going to go 2.
Now, Trevor Rogers has a 1-9 record. So he's, it's pretty much been in the losing column all season. He hasn't, that one win came on May 19th. So, he had a couple quality starts, actually had 3 in a row, but then only 3 innings his last time out at Houston, at Cincinnati. I'm not going to give him a 0, but, team context and everything, probably just a 1.
I'm going to go 0.
You are going to go 0.
Interesting. It may be different if people listening to this as a podcast, either later Friday or over the weekend. Maybe this is different. But right now, you said Rogers has 1 win. That's 1 more than Justin Steele.
Yeah, I think we talked about that last week. That's
I think Steele's pitching right now. I mean, he's actually pitching now.
Yeah, we got 1-day game today.
Yeah, so
and it's usually the Cubs.
So hopefully things will change today for Justin Steele. But that's just kind of weird. I know Steele started late, but he still pitched really well in the 12 starts. Hopefully he'll get his first win today.
Well, we talked about Colin Ray potentially being a pickup if he's still out there in your league, and he really does line up for a favorable 2-step next week before the All-Star break versus Pittsburgh, then versus Washington. So, he's pitched pretty well, and then, that kind of 2-step heading into the break is pretty nice. I still probably put him in the 3 range, but I feel pretty good about him this coming week.
Oh, gosh. I'm still waiting for it to crash down. I'm going to go 2.
2?
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I could see, the other shoe dropping on Colin Ray, but we'll see. And then Chris Paddock for the Minnesota Twins. I believe, he's on the IL right now, so he's throwing bullpen sessions. This is extremely tentative, and he has mostly struggled this year. So with the uncertainty, his issues, a couple of road starts, it is the White Sox in San Francisco. But until we know more, I'll probably just give him a 1.
Yeah, I mean, it could even be that he's one of the guys that doesn't start the second game. Maybe. Yeah. I'm not sure who would stay in the rotation, who the Twins would use. But, I'm going to go 1 as well.
And Christian Scott, who we mentioned, at Pittsburgh versus Colorado. That's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Nice little 2-step. And we were kind of waiting on him to get the call. They finally got him back up. So Christian Scott at Pitt versus Colorado. I think I'm going to go 4.
Yeah, this could be a 3.51, which rounds up to 4. I'm going to go 4 as well.
Okay, yeah, that's hopefully I think last week we preached patience on waiting, so hopefully you did wait and held on to Christian Scott. And what about Jose Quintana with those same actually, no, he's got different matchups. He is versus Washington versus Colorado instead of at Pitt versus Colorado. So that's even better, I would say, for Quintana. Probably only a 2 though for me.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2. I mean, Colorado can't hit lefties. I'm going to go 2. He deserves consideration, but it's just going to be a 2.
Probably best if you sold high on Carlos Rodon a while ago because it has not been pretty for him. He lines up at Tampa Bay, then at Baltimore. Ooh, man! Since he's been on the downswing, I don't know how to value this guy right now. It wasn't a total disaster last time out, but he did have a couple blowups before. He has a ERA pushing 11 over his last 4 starts. That's not who he is, but at Tampa Bay, at Baltimore. I think I'm gonna go 2. I think I put him below that.
He could be the rare exception where, against my motto, where if you're not going to start him with a 2-start week, get rid of him. I don't know that you get rid of him, but I can see benching him this week.
Yeah.
I could also see him not making that second start.
He may be a guy who needs some rest.
Yeah, I could also see him not. I don't know who the Yankees would deploy in that spot instead, but I'm sure they can come up with somebody. I'm going to go 2 as well, but don't be surprised if he doesn't make 2 starts.
Yeah, really poor swing here for him, but we'll see if he can rebound. Carlos Rodon. Yeah, but he is below that tie-own line. I was trying to get out earlier. But all right, Joey Estes at Boston, at Philly. He's been serviceable. I'll turn this one over to you to start because I'm kind of iffy on Estes.
All right, I'm going to stop turning my camera back on and off. Just off the rest of the time. And I'll check the setting later. Oh, God, you know what? If these are home, we'd have an argument. Not an argument, a discussion. But these are 2 offenses that are, I can't. I'm going to go with a 1, but I would have to have no other options, and maybe it's a points league 1. But even then, Oakland's not going to get you wins. At least not going to be favored.
Yeah, that's a tough one in this week. Maybe you hold them for the second half, but
maybe
that's a tough one to feel good about. I guess tentatively lines up to face the Angels coming out of the break, so maybe you stay put on Estes. And then Zach Wheeler, even though he's got to face the Dodgers, he's a 5.
Yeah, so he's the one.
Time there.
I was thinking, maybe the Phillies wanted to pitch in the All-Star game, but you know what? Maybe they don't. And the best way to keep Wheeler out of the All-Star game is to start him on Sunday, right? Because
that's a good point. Plus, they're facing Oakland. That should be an easy.
Yeah, it's not so. My point being, Wheeler knows how to handle these sorts of things, but yet he's got a lot of mileage. The Phillies are hoping for another long playoff run. It wouldn't surprise me if Wheeler pitches that Sunday and then doesn't pitch like the Thursday or Friday. The Friday we get back. If maybe they give him a couple of extra days.
Yeah, that could happen for sure. Well, what about for Pittsburgh? Mitch Keller. He's versus the Mets than at the White Sox.
Yeah, just as you think Keller is back, he throws a stinker in there.
Yeah.
But this is a 4. These matchups are a 4.
Yeah, the matchups are really, really good for Keller. So I think I'm going to go 3, but I'll get you down as a 4.
Okay. Well, I'm +1 on Keller regardless. So
yeah, that's kind of been the trend over the years with Keller here on this podcast. And then Martin Perez, the lefty at Milwaukee. At the White Sox. Even with those matchups, maybe a 2. I'm
going to 2.
Yeah. Maybe a guy you consider.
Don't love the Parks.
No.
I think I'm going to go 2.
If you are into streaming, some, debate the merits of it, which is understandable, and there are good arguments on both sides. But if you could benefit from streaming, maybe you think about Martin Perez. And then San Diego, 2 off days, and no 2-star pitchers for them. And then Logan Gilbert at San Diego at the Angels. You think he probably makes both of those, and I'm going to give him a 5.
I am as well.
All right, what about Jordan Hicks? It got off to a great start in that starting role with San Francisco, but it's kind of been on the downswing of late. Over his last, let's see here. Over his last 7 outings, he has a 5.51 ERA, 1.74 WHIP. So he has been trending in the wrong direction. I still like, of course, what he brings in terms of stuff, but versus Toronto, versus Minnesota.
At home, both.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go 2. Yeah,
2.
That's where I was leaning. I mean, I wish I could go higher. I like what he brings, but the trends are discouraging, certainly. Miles Michaelis at Washington, then versus the Cubs. They have the Cardinals and the Cubs have a doubleheader on the Saturday coming out of the break. Michaelis again at Washington versus the Cubs. He's better than he's shown, so I think I'm gonna say a 3.
He's another one that defines 3.
Yeah, you look it up, and he is one of those guys in the dictionary. What about Andres Payante? Would you consider him?
Let's point out that he's got Kansas City at home. It's either a makeup or a wraparound it can't be a wraparound because there's no wraparounds this week. So we have a couple makeups on this Monday. Piante, who's better again, can't dismiss him like we could have earlier in the year. Not bad matchups because they're both at home. I'm going to go 2.
Yeah, I think so. That sounds about right on Andre Piante. And then Ryan Pepio. I was expecting maybe that next level with him this year. It hasn't really manifested, but I do still like his stuff. So versus the Yankees, versus Cleveland, he hasn't really pitched like a 3, but I think I'm going to give him a 3.
I didn't even really need next level. I just wanted to see what he kind of showed to do it, just to do it.
Over a longer period.
We start in fits and spurts, right? We didn't. So, and then we're hoping Tampa could take him to the next level. Oh man, these offenses though, you're right. New York and Cleveland, but it's in Tampa. I'm only going to go 2, but I'm using them.
Okay, yeah, I got a 3, but I'll put you down
here's the tough
2 on Ryan Pepio. Yeah, this is a tough one. Jon Gray at the Angels at Houston. Now, he had that horrible outing against the Mets on June 17th where he gave up 9, and it seemed like, he kind of blamed it on tipping his pitches. But then he had another one where he gave up 8 a couple turns later. So he hasn't really fixed whatever has been the issue here.
He was so good to begin the year. Then he got hurt. Then his first start was a relief appearance. He was really good. Then he started on short rest. And they've kind of been yanking him around since the injury, but it's now been enough starts he should have stabilized. So that's why a little bit of concern. But if he does, what if he does discover that he's tipping and he goes back to first half? Don't love these matchups though. I'm gonna go Arg. He's another guy where I can see sitting if you want, and not releasing.
I'm gonna go 2, but it sounds like you're kind of in that range too.
I'm in that range. I mean, yes. Geez, I'm gonna go 1. I'm concerned.
Wow.
I'm probably using them, but I'm gonna go 1. I don't love the Houston matchup. Scherzer.
Gotcha. Good point.
Oh no, we don't have Scherzer. We don't have Scherzer. Never mind.
They have an off day next week, so no 2-star pitcher. Well, no 2-star pitchers aside from Gray, and then Yusei Kikuchi for Toronto. Toronto, boy, looking like they might be sellers. I know they kind of talked about, we're not trading Vladdy, we're not trading Bichette, but they might have to do some wheeling and dealing here. Kikuchi at San Francisco, at Arizona. Pretty good 2-step for him. I think I'm going to go 2, though. Something about
Kikuchi. I want to say 3. And that little from Animal House, I got the little Rob Silver doll above my shoulder saying, "Go for it, say 3." And then I got the other saying, "Don't do it, don't do it."
I hear you. I want to feel like I wanted to say like he's been better lately, but that really isn't the case. He's
the little Rob Silver doll. Anyway,
Kikuchi's got a 6.50 ERA since May 26th.
I haven't liked what I've seen. I'm gonna go 2.
Yeah, that feels right on Kikuchi. I mean, they could trade Bassett, Kikuchi. They could trade a number of these arms here.
I think they could trade Barrios.
Maybe
they may be able to get something a little more for Jose Barrios at this point, but we'll see.
And then finally for the Nationals, Mitchell Parker versus St. Louis at Milwaukee. This is not a guy I had on my radar coming into the season. I still kind of been, paying him little mind because I don't trust him. But, he's at least, gone 6+. He's gone 6 innings in 3 of his last 4.
I was going to say he's giving them length, which in points leagues is important. I mean, I'm going to go 2, but I'm curious about the next guy. Yeah,
Mitchell Parker, I think with that length is a 2. And then, Jake Irvin just continues his role. And in fact, may have reached, his best start ever his last time out. 8 innings, punched out 8. He did have a 10 strikeout game, a couple 10 strikeout games before that. This is a guy that's, been on a pretty insane roll here.
Yeah.
1.65 ERA over his last 49 innings.
Supported too, right? I mean, the strikeouts
for the
are
most
low.
Part.
Yeah.
He's got a slightly different 2-step. He's at the Mets than at Milwaukee. we'll see about him making that second start heading into the break. But I think Jake Irvin's probably a 4.
Yep, absolutely. He was one of the guys that I was on, so I picked him up. But even if I had him on my roster, I was hesitant to use him for a lot of the early starts and regretting that, if you will. But he showed some latent strikeout stuff early in the season, and it's kind of come to fruition.
My stake league team is still in the eater range, or I'm sorry, in the buyer range, bottom half of the league. But I was like in last place at one point. I'm up in the 80s now. So, Jake Irvin's really been a big piece. He's kind of been a swing piece for me. I don't know where the heck I'd be if it weren't for Jake Irvin, as crazy as that sounds. All right, well, let's recap our 2-star pitcher grades for next week, the final week before the All-Star break. Tommy Henry, 0. Zach Gallen, 4. Chris Sale, 5. Charlie Morton, 4. Dean Kramer, 3. Brian Bayo, 3. Jamison Tyone, 3. Andrew Abbott, high end 4 this week. Nick Lodolo, tentatively a 4. Todd says 3. Gavin Williams, a 2. Ben Lively, 3. Dakota Hudson, 0. Cal Quantrill, 1. Chris Flexen, I say 1. Todd, 0. Jack Flaherty, 3. Kenta Maeda, 1. Ronel Blanco, I say 5. Todd, 4. Davis Daniel, 2. Ronzi Contreras, 0. Bobby Miller, 2. Trevor Rogers, I say 1. Todd, 0. Colin Ray, I say 3. Todd, 2. Chris Paddock, 1. Christian Scott, 4. Jose Quintana, 2. Carlos Rodon, 2. Joey Estes, 1. Zach Wheeler, 5. Mitch Keller, I say 3. Todd, 4. Martin Perez, 2. Logan Gilbert, 5. Jordan Hicks, 2. Miles Michaelis, 3. Andre Payante, 2. Ryan Pepio, I say 3. Todd, 2. Jon Gray, I say 2. Todd, 1. Yusei Kikuchi, 2. Mitchell Parker, 2. And then finally, Jake Irvin, 4. Todd, we've pretty much made it to the break, man. Congrats on a great first half, and thanks for all the hard work you do for RotoWire. And looking forward to finishing strong over the next 3 months.
Yeah, we have a little over a week to figure out what we're going to do in Vegas while everybody else is drafting football.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to be really doing in Vegas. Last year, I took a trip to the Mafia Museum. Have you ever been there in Vegas? Probably not. It was pretty wild. They had like the actual brick wall from the St. Valentine's Day Massacre.
Oh, nice.
Pretty, kind of gruesome, but pretty interesting stuff. Right near where we stay, too, near the Circa. Cool. But anyway, look forward to seeing you, Todd. And anything else you want to mention here before we sign off?
No, a lot of stuff happens this last week before the break, just so keep on your toes. And we've got a crack staff at RotoWire to keep up with all the different moves, all the different changes. So, give us a look, give us a listen. You won't be hearing us on the radio after this week. Well, you'll be hearing other people. But the baseball side of the podcast is not going anywhere. Yeah, they, certain broadcast outlets will shift mostly to fantasy football, and that's understandable. Fantasy football keeps the lights on, so to speak. But we will be here to the very end, the bitter end for some of us, but the very end. Hopefully I can turn it around. And I'm having a tough fantasy season, I'll be honest, but still some leagues that, I can make a push in. So I'll be doing that. And hopefully you'll be with us for the ride. We will talk to you all next week on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast, brought to you by DraftKings PickSix.